and that is why Batman season has been declared illegal in Canada. On other news...
Long ago in a distant land, I, Aku, the shape-shifting master of darkness, unleashed an unspeakable evil. But a foolish samurai warrior wielding a magic sword stepped forth to oppose me.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Team Yume podcast. I am joined by my usual non-sequiturs, and also my co-host, Devar Arkvaron.
Hey there, audiences, baby! How you all doing this fine night?
And our special, super cool co-guest host, just guest, possibly future co-host, a future co-host, but mostly a guest right now. We have WhyBoy from Toon Grin. How ya doing, buddy, old pal?
I don't think he said guest or host enough for me yet. I want 10 more of those.
Okay, you are the super godly Guru Kami guest.
Thank you. That is perfect for me.
It's been a while since we had you on board in one of our podcasting recording sessions, specifically with me. You never answer my call back. That's
which callback? Like, I was waiting for you to message me again. It's just like, oh, he doesn't want to podcast with me anymore. Whatever. Whenever I got Toon Grin,
don't put this one on me.
Hey, I didn't get any messages from you at all.
That's the thing. Madhog's playing hard to get with you.
I thought you were playing hard to get with me.
Wait, what?
Okay, this is one giant misunderstanding, but what can you do? Right, so, by the way, that complete nonsense at the beginning, I actually declared a rule to reference the Batman vs. Elmer Fudd upcoming comic book as a running gag for this podcast. So hence why Batman season, because he's hunting Batman and all of that.
Yeah, Batman season would not work in England either.
Well, you did used to have Fox season at some point.
That was like, goodness knows how many years that has been now. That has been made illegal, thankfully.
Yes, I remember specifically a Disney cartoon from back in the 30s that was about fox hunting, if you recall.
Yeah, I do remember something along those lines, yes. Other than the Mary Poppins scene.
Well, yes, also that, but that was actually back in the 60s. I'm talking about late 30s. It was a cartoon mostly starring Goofy, but Donald and Mickey were also in there, but mostly merely cameos. Anyway, yes, there was a fox there, and there were shenanigans involving Goofy and his horse, because of course, if Goofy has a horse,
Goocy.
Shenanigans. Okay, I was going to cut that out, but since you pointed out, I'm going to keep it in. So less work for me. Thank you for that. So Goosey and his goofy horses. Anytime you have Goosey and his goofy horses, you know shenanigans occur. Jeez, off to a great start.
That's better than that. Well, it's better than Goofy having a Goosey surfboard.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about Goofy cartoons from the late 30s, 40s, and 50s. We're here to
Goosey.
talk... Goosey is the Chinese bootleg, as we all know. Charlie Chan? Racist stereotype?
Oh gosh.
Oh, God.
Oh gosh, indeed. Anyway, we're not here to talk about those cartoons. We're here to talk about something far more recent. Season 5 of Goocy, of Samurai Goocy.
The greatest show of all time.
What's
I thought it was called Samurai Juicy.
Watcha!
You see.
Dun 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 dun,
Dun,
Samurai
dun,
Goocy.
dun, dun.
Watcha! Okay. So, what do we think of the first 2 episodes of Samurai Jack, Season 5?
If I could do anything with my appearance right now, it would be 2 thumbs up with a big smile on my face.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely 2 awesome episodes. A great return for Samurai Jack.
A very, very rare case in which a reboot, or in this case, continuation of a long time cancelled show actually lives up to the expectations. Even more, it just shatters them into a million pieces, along with any recondite memories of our nostalgic affections for the original show, because these 2 episodes of the new season kind of really blow completely out of the water most of the original run, if you ask me. I know it's a bold statement, but I think they
it's
really
very
do.
justified.
They really do that. And episode 1 was good. Episode 2 was even better in so many ways. It might just be the best episode of anything ever made. At least that was my gut reaction to it the first time I saw that. But let's go in order.
Yeah, as in, what? Are we going to talk about the original run, or are we going to just go straight to talking about first episode?
I think it's fair to briefly acknowledge what the original show accomplished back in its day. The boundaries it pushed, what can or can you not show in a show aimed at children for the most part. And then we go back to Season 5, which thematically it represents something important, and that is the actual growth of the show itself, along with its original intended audience, which by now are all adults. Because this is a very rare occurrence of a new iteration of a once-beloved cartoon that's actually meant to be enjoyed mostly by its original audience. And that never happens.
No, because they usually just do what they did with the Powerpuff Girls and just...
Do not mention the Powerpuff Girls in the same breath. I mean, don't. Just don't. That's like mentioning Citizen Kane and Cool as Ice in the same breath. You don't do that.
Everyone's thinking it.
Yeah, either that or Teen Titans Go.
Yes, also that. But that is the difference between Cartoon Network and Adult Swim right now. Adult Swim is finally, becoming an adult-oriented channel as opposed to being a channel for juvenile cartoons passed down as adult cartoons, while CN is slowly going down, really, in quality.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the original show. What are your thoughts about the original show? I definitely want to hear them because this is a podcast. I cannot be the only one who talks.
Would you like to go first, WhyBoy?
Yeah, sure, I can go first. Like, one of the Toon Grin's last big videos was the Nero reviews of Samurai Jack. So me and Nero watched the whole series of Samurai Jack from start to finish. And we just really enjoyed. It's definitely got everything that you could want from a show that basically minimalizes everything. Like, the art style is so stylized, and it just speaks narrative just through the visuals of it.
Yes.
Where we have Jack, where he's mostly silent throughout the entire show's running time, and we just see the expressions on him as they convey the story of him, convey the story of this broken man who's been cast from the past into the future and is just completely out of time.
Watcha!
Yeah. Yep, just watcha.
Watcha in time.
Yeah. First 3 episodes are some of my favorite ones, because that's the most narrative driven they ever are, because it's the whole pilot movie of it.
And most of the show, I noticed, is made of self-concluding, self-contained episodes with a very much excuse for an overarching narrative. And that is probably the biggest difference in between the original run and what the show seems to be right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the original run was mostly just episodic, just to capitalize ideas. Like, you can have a ninja episode. You can have that episode where there's a freaky beatboxing samurai out for Jack, and all sorts of weird things.
And an episode where Samurai Jack, and a Scotsman with a gun for a peg leg fight on a single file bridge.
In the current continuity, the Scotsman might be dead. Or about to die of old age. Imagine if he actually meets him.
Oh, he does. He appears in the trailers.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, that confirms it then.
That'll be interesting to see that future
But
episode.
anyway, you mentioned the best episodes, but you did not mention the absolute best episode of the original run.
Well, I personally don't really have the absolute best, because I watched a good majority of Samurai Jack, but I didn't watch the whole thing. Like, if
Okay.
you wanted best episode, that would be Nero to answer that. I just really like the pilot episode, as it just encapsulates what I just love about pilot episodes.
Okay,
So-
It basically really makes Jack a strong character. It just encapsulates what's going to happen each episode. Makes Aku a serious threat and also funny as well.
yes.
Makes him making one of the most funniest villains out there.
Yes,
okay.
yes, actually.
Everything
So-
together comes into a perfect package.
Yes, I agree. By the way, before you actually went into this tirade, I was going to make my joke. I was going to make a joke about, hey, remember the absolute best episode of the original show in which Aku just transforms himself into a beautiful girl and seduces Jack? And that is a thing that actually happened. And oh my god, what were they thinking? Just,
They were pushing the envelope like Final Fantasy
They
VII
were-
did with
they-
having.
they had legitimately romantic tension in between them during that journey. And Aku did all of that because he wanted to destroy the portal back in time, preventing Jack to go back home, because he saw it in a vision? Did he really need to do all that? To pretend to be a woman and go all dreamy eyes on him? And was he really that stupid, not noticing she was obviously Aku in disguise? I mean,
Yeah.
she had the same color scheme, for crying out loud.
Why not?
And I guess that would be the limitations of a show this ambitious, being bogged down by network censorships and idiotic kiddie plots, because Cartoon Network sometimes is tragically still Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
None of that in the new show, I can assure you.
But you know, at the same time, even when it had those sort of kiddie episodes, it doesn't really feel like that stupid sort of Powerpuff Girls 2016 bullcrap where it's
Yeah.
just stupid kitty for kitty's sake. I feel
Okay.
like more it has a fun atmosphere to it.
Yes,
like there was
I
that episode where
should-
Jack went to like that Alice in Wonderland world and all that.
Yes, I
Like
should
its
actually point
goofiness
out
actually
that
fits with it.
when I say kiddie stuff, I don't mean in that children's programming is inherently dumb. I mean children programming that it's also treated as dumb because it is aimed at children, and that is the problem with the network mentality rather than the nature of the show itself. That is an important distinction I want to make. Yeah.
I like to point out that when I watched the original run of the show, I was in college at the time, so I've only caught episodes when I wanted to, essentially. But I remember really loving the action of the show itself and all the different situations Jack would find himself in, unique set of characters he would come across. For some reason, one episode sticks out in my mind, which is probably not going to be mentioned by anyone, but it's the one that Jack met someone that went to Valhalla in the end of the episode.
Oh yes, that was the first episode of the original show I watched, if you don't count the pilot.
Yeah, because that one stuck in my mind when I saw that one.
That episode is almost entirely without dialogues of any kind. They're all concentrated in the third act. That is unheard of in a children's cartoon from the early 2000s on Cartoon Network.
Okay, so I want either of you to correct me on this notion that I have about the original run of Samurai Jack, in case I'm wrong on this one, because it has been a fair few years. We're talking like 10 plus years since I last saw it, but I remember not really liking the fact that in every fight that I saw with Samurai Jack, he always seemed to had, let's say, overpowered syndrome, essentially, where apparently he had the necessary skills to get out of any situation without much trouble.
Well, to be fair, if you remember the pilot, he's been trained in every possible single martial art and fighting style in existence, specifically for the purpose of fighting the ultimate incarnation of evil, a complete badass that can adapt to any situation. And it's hard to make that kind of show with that kind of premise interesting, but if John Wick teaches us anything, is that not only it is possible, but if done right, it can be downright rewarding.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that it was a deal breaker for me. It's just a slight nitpick on my part, just because I've always had this issue where I feel that heroes that go in with everything on a silver platter already, and that means there isn't really much to worry about. You're just left with the world itself and the other characters who will be dragging it to be more interesting, while Jack, he's interesting in his own right, but it's like, badasses are meant to be interesting on their own right, just because they're badass.
I like to think that the main draw of a episode in which Jack has to overcome a new enemy is that he has to find new creative ways to beat them, and we as an audience are intrigued by that. But you bring up an excellent point, because I'm pretty sure the makers of Season 5 were aware of that limitation, and they completely took the character and turned him upside down. They deprived him of his invincible sword, which, losing it becomes symbolic of his loss of resolve, which clearly he has to find back.
Yeah.
And the sword becomes a MacGuffin in that sense. He is on a quest in which he has to find it, along with his lost resolve. It is symbolic of that. I like to reiterate that for no particular reason. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's just my thoughts, just to get them out there.
So again, the brilliance, one of the many brilliant moves of the new season is that we establish that Jack is, really strong and theoretically unbeatable and better than anyone else. Instead of going for the lazy route of him just finding somebody who's just stronger than him and he cannot beat him, they don't do that because that would be just kind of lazy.
Well, of course, they've already done that once with the Time Gatekeeper.
Yeah, the Guardian.
Okay,
yeah, the Guardian, that was it.
I'm not saying that the original show was perfect, but here's the deal. What would be the greatest enemy of a character who's virtually badass and unbeatable in every way? What would be his greatest obstacle in that regard? Fatigue. Psychological, emotional, and physical fatigue, along with losing his resolve. A part of himself that literally, as it were, ends up shouting in his face to just give up and essentially kill himself to get it all over. And that is brilliant in a way, because we are taking a character that is supposed to be better than anyone else, but we are putting him into a situation in which he organically and with time just is not on top of the mountain anymore because of everything that goes on around him. It wears on him psychologically. And that makes for a very deep and intriguing character to explore. It's similar to Guts from Berserk, in a way.
Yeah.
He is ridiculously strong, he has a sword as big as him, but his constant battling monsters eventually wears on his psychology, and that creates conflict. And himself becomes his greatest enemy, and he needs people in his life to keep him in check. Jack is completely alone.
Yeah, he has no one to help him out of that situation.
Exactly. So I guess we can get to talk about Season 5 properly.
Yes, we definitely can now.
So 50 years have passed since the last time Portal was closed off. That's literally the intro for this new season, by the way.
Yeah, it's how they open every episode as of right now.
Yeah, this really sets the grim tone and mood of the show quite nicely. We don't have the cheery, somewhat rapping music we had in the original show. Watcha! None of that.
Well, that is for the credits part of the episodes.
Well, yeah, the credits. But I would argue that they feel a bit out of place, considering everything else.
I like to think of it as more of a nod to fans, who like the original show, that using that musical score for that particular point.
I would use that musical score when Jack recovers his sword along with his resolve and he becomes the Jack we once all knew and love. That is when you bring up the cheery memories of the original show.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I get that in the thematic sense you're going for.
Yes, absolutely.
That would make sense. That
yeah, I would probably suspect they probably will do that in the maybe run episode 6 or something. They'll change it back to like more upbeat sort of thing. Just right now, the intro is all about like the doom and gloom and his desperation to get back to the past now. It is all about his crazy mind.
His struggle between his original goal, which is losing track of, and his increasing desire to just get it all over with. He's struggling with suicidal depression, essentially. They are taking the Logan approach to this show, which I approve.
I have to say, I really like how they did the entire first episode. They basically reintroduced the character, showed off the new stuff he's got, essentially.
Yeah.
Like
And also,
that motorcycle.
Yes, that doesn't have a long lifespan, let's face it, but it was
No.
nice while it lasted. Also, we are introduced to the good old cockroach robots that he killed off in the pilot episode.
Yeah.
That was a good callback to the pilot episode.
And also,
No, he
we
just
have
Myrtleized them all.
Yes, of course. And then we have also a couple of new extra characters for Tumblr to fawn over. I'm talking about the blue-skinned woman and child that communicate with each other with visual cues through their antennas.
Much fan art.
by
Oh yes, definitely.
So much fan art of those two.
Yeah.
You know what I want to see for episode 3?
Yeah.
And this is just me speculating. It is implied by the way the show is cut and edited that there is not a specific time frame of reference for all of this happening, because Samurai Jack has escaped the clutches of passing time because of his time traveling experience, and he doesn't age. So I imagine a scenario in which he meets up with the girl he once saved, except now she's an adult.
Well, that would be nice.
That would be interesting.
That would be. So yes, Samurai Jack doesn't age anymore. He lost his sword, he cannot die of natural causes, he is left meandering in the world without a goal, without anything to actually keep him going, aside from raw, primal survival instincts. And in that sense, the parallel with the white lone wolf in the second episode is brilliant. But we'll get to that.
I mean, like I said before, the first episode does a good setup and reintroduction of the character. Let's see, Jack fought against, I forgot his name now,
but he's quite memorable otherwise.
Oh yes, he's very memorable, baby.
Yes, he slaughtered an entire village just to get Jack's attention, and this is where the adult-oriented production value of the show really shines, because it has gruesome and violent moments, but at the same time, the show very much earns those moments. They are not gratuitous, they serve a purpose both thematically and narratively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what about that ritualistic birth scene?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I had so many thought processes seeing that. I was like, okay, how is this gonna go? Are they gonna sacrifice the babies? Are they going to just offer them to Aku to have them be super powered or something? Or are they just a crazy cult that just basically think that Aku will just listen to them?
Yes, and this is one of my favorite aspects of the show. This assassin's cult made entirely of women that have been trained their entire lives to just kill this one guy, this Jack, that worship Aku as if he were some sort of amazing, omniscient, omnipotent, eldritch god. And then we cut to Aku himself just to see him lazing about, being sad and depressed, talking to himself, and being a huge dork and a shut-in, and doesn't know anything at all. This is the guy that those assassins have been worshipping as their god. And I am just thinking in my head, will it come a time in which the sole survivor of this assassin's cult, after they've been all inevitably wiped out, realizes that the guy they have been instructed their entire lives to serve as their god and master and whatnot is this huge internet troll with superpowers that doesn't care about anything at all.
Yeah.
Imagine the reaction. Imagine the revelation. I love it. I love the possibility that this stark contrast in between the Aku scenes and the Jack scenes bring to the table.
Yes, I just love them too, actually.
Yeah, Aku's always been the one that just brought the comedy to it. Like there was one scene that Nero really pointed out in his review where Aku basically orders a pizza and he orders it in the most regular way possible. It's like, hey, yes, I'm probably in the books. Yes. Extra large, excellent. And the pizza place hangs up on him as he's just laughing awkwardly.
Okay.
Oh, Aku, how I love you.
The great thing about Aku as a villain is that he can just skip in between being a comic relief villain to a serious threat in the snap of a finger. That works uniquely for him. It doesn't work for every villain. It works uniquely for him.
Well, that's because the reason why it works for him so well is because of his personality, as well as the fact that he has powers that essentially make him a viable threat to begin with.
Yes, this is a weird dynamic we have with Aku and Jack, in that they are perfect polar opposites. Jack is focused, serious, and motivated to see the end of all evil. Aku is just some huge dork, a shatin, that's only motivated by boredom, essentially.
And revels in evil.
Yes, they are a perfect contrast. Many writers don't actually get what being someone's nemesis truly means. They would just assume it's this guy's villain, or it is a dark version of the main character. It's not.
Yeah.
A nemesis, a true nemesis, is the exact opposite of one's own character. Think about Superman and Lex Luthor. They could not possibly be more different. Superman is heroic and superior in strength, and he stands for the American way and justice and all of that. A Boy Scout. Lex Luthor is an evil genius who's a rich capitalist. He's intelligent, not strong. Polar opposites.
Yeah.
Well, I think more importantly that it should be more idyllic opposites. That's just deep down, like we have Jack, who's all about honor and such, and Aku, who has this immense power and just uses it for immature purposes. Like, I can take over everything because I fucking can.
Pretty much, yes. It's a unique dynamic that works with these two characters. We have the serious one, and we have the chaotic one who doesn't take anyone seriously. It's actually a classic comedic duo, the zany one and the straight man.
Can they ever get along, or will they just stab him in the gullet?
Who knows? But something happened in this new season. Something happened to Aku that's very interesting. Because in a way it is similar to what happened to Jack. While Jack lost his resolve along with his sword and is struggling to find motivation to continue, Aku, in a similar but also completely different way, lost his resolve to be Aku. If you allow me to jump to the beginning of episode 2, which immediately starts with Aku's funny morning routine.
Yeah, that was actually a really good one.
He puts on his fire eyebrows, he stretches in the morning.
I'm surprised those were attachable.
Oh, man. And then he meets up with the representatives from the mud people who have a gross mud statue as a offering to him. And
Wait, no.
Okay.
You're getting mud everywhere, I just vacuumed.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to point out. The subtlety of Aku's subtle change of a character. Subtly. Because old Aku, in this circumstance, would have vaporized them for daring to mud his entire newly shined and bright pavement and all of that. Or lair, or mother's basement, if you will. But new Aku just yells at them to get out and leave him alone. And then he pretends he doesn't care that scientists are building a newer, better, and more bigger cockroach robot to send after Jack. And then he goes on to have a middle life crisis, essentially.
Yeah, with himself as the psychiatrist.
And this is what I love about this, because both Jack and Aku had lost their resolve. Aku has been so consumed by the fear for Jack and his sword that he had become a complete shut-in. He rarely even left his lair back in the day, but now he doesn't even go out to just casually stroll through a city and demolish something. He just stays there, locked out from the world, consumed by stress and boredom, and he doesn't have any idea what's going on in his own kingdom anymore. And that is the only reason why he has not realized that Jack does not have his magical god-killing sword, and he could go on and easily take him out. And at this point, I'm also thinking,
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see what kind of facial expression he will show to us once he inevitably realizes that Jack is defenseless.
Yeah.
Because his facial expressions are the best part of his entire body animation.
I would also like to point out something, which is a kind of a sad thing to point out, but sadly the original voice actor for Aku, called Mako, could not reprise the role due to the fact of his passing several years ago. But I would like to say that the new guy they brought in, I believe his name was Greg Baldwin. I think that's the name.
Yeah,
it
he
was
is the go-to Mako impersonator. He was also used in Avatar The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra once the original Mako passed on.
Yeah, I'd like to say he actually does a decent job of playing Aku as Aku.
Yes.
So he has it down to a pat, the mannerisms and all that. But
it's
again,
seamless.
it's not the same, but you can tell it's slightly different, but it's serviceable. You can feel that he's trying to channel Aku into that role.
Yeah,
so I would like to point that out.
When Orson Welles died, that really made the career of Maurice LaMarche, which was his greatest impersonator.
Yeah.
If you recall, he was Brain in Pinky and the Brain.
Oh yes, I remember.
He's also the go-to Orson Welles voice. Because if you think about it, how many times did we change voice actors for Donald, Mickey, and Goofy? Or should I say Goocy?
Definitely say Goocy. That's his new name now.
It's Goocy. All right.
It's the same story with the with any Looney Tunes character as well. How many times have they had change of voice actors?
Well, not that many times, because Mel Blanc lived for very long, considering he had a terrible smoking habit. In fact, I think he died in 1990? Really around that time.
Yeah.
His last recorded role was in the Jetsons movie, of all bloody things.
Huh. Did not know that.
Well, he was Mr. Spacely there.
Oh, I did not know that one.
Well, now you know, and knowing, etc., etc.
Anyway,
I feel we have to acknowledge something important. This show looks stone cold stunning. Beautiful.
Yes. It does.
It is the most gorgeous.
It's amazing. And it's like an evolution of the stylistic, style of what the original show went for.
The stylistic
a bit more
style.
polish.
I do not have the numbers right in front of me, but I suspect that producing a single episode of the new show cost more money than an entire season back in the day.
It wouldn't surprise me, considering.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, have you seen those firefly effects?
Have you seen the beautifully detailed backgrounds and foregrounds?
There's so much detail in every scene now.
You said it yourself earlier, WhyBoy, that this show was great in conveying visual storytelling, world building, character psychology through just motion, or a composition of a scene, or a very specific choice of music. The new season does all of that, but immeasurably better. And really, that is the gist, the whole gist of what Season 5 has shown us so far, in that it's like the original show, but everything has been so much improved since then, it is astounding to witness. Humbling, I dare say.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk more about the episode 2 after Aku, I believe.
Yes.
This scene.
Honestly, the episode 2 proper begins after the Aku scene, when we see this lone white wolf venturing into the forest, taking a wrong turn, and then ending up fighting mutated tigers. And that scene is happening in parallel with Jack also taking a wrong turn, ending up fighting the teenage assassins that have been sent to kill him from the aforementioned assassin's cult.
Yeah.
Of course, that happened after he destroyed the big, ginormous cockroach robot that the scientists were so proud of.
Yeah. Oh, those poor scientists. I hope they get paid.
Judging by how Aku is right now, I think they can just steal money under his nose, he wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, take money from my couch. I don't care. Who cares? Take all the money.
If this were to be any other show other than Samurai Jack, the stark contrast in between the light-hearted comedy of the villain scene, whom is supposed to be the main villain, and the rest of the episode would not work quite as well, in a intrinsic way. But strangely does for the reasons I already mentioned and analyzed upon.
Yeah.
I cannot do justice. I cannot do enough justice in describe the entire sequence of Jack fending off the attack of the assassins.
I don't think anyone could.
It is so good. From the right choice of slow motion, just at the right time, for the right choice of music, just at the right time, to the preparation for the attack in the darkness, from the moment in which the music stops and something is about to happen, to the moment in which the music starts again and something really dramatic and intense is happening. Everything is so cinematic and well animated and choreographed. Everything looks so clean, so gritty, intense and violent, but also gorgeous at the same time.
Yeah, save for that one scene where basically Jack is hiding under a metal dome. He's having a crisis within himself, basically.
I love that scene too.
It's intermingled in this battle against these assassins that he has no idea what they look like yet.
And it established something really important that needed to be established vocally, and they found a way to deliver the exposition in a way that doesn't seem forced or contrived, but it actually adds to the psychological drama that Samurai Jack is going through by talking to himself, literally. And again, there is a parallel between this scene and the scene in which Aku was talking to himself, literally.
Yeah, but only it's like within Jack's mind, while Aku can actually bring that out physically for himself.
Again, everything about these two scenes, they accomplish the same goal, and that is important exposition, but they also provide a in-depth look at both of the characters. They are parallel to each other thematically, just to reinforce the leitmotif, loss of resolve.
Yeah. So I just really love that scene where he's talking to himself and then he just ends up resolving himself, just get out there and just run towards the temple that's up ahead.
Also, I should say, nice world building once we get to the temple.
WhyBoy, you were about to say something. What were you about to say?
The part about the scene that I really like the most is just the character development for Jack, just showing that he is at the end of his rope, and just sort of the color contrast between the normal color, like current Jack, and past Jack in his old getup, and how that Jack, our nostalgic childhood Jack, is suicidal, basically. Just wants to end it all.
And the beautiful part about it is they don't exactly say it. They just say, don't you want to end it all? And that's all it is. So it gives a hint of that without just laying it out there.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's such a powerful scene.
I mean, this is intermingled with a great battle choreography beforehand and afterwards as well, might have add.
Yes.
Well, more like a choreography of sneaking around a temple, essentially.
And getting stabbed and beat up a bunch.
Yes, Samurai Jack is completely outmatched. He is not what he used to be because of lack of resolve. He is being hunted down by assassins that have been built to be killing machines, which is ironic because Jack has always been killing machines that were actually machines.
And another thing I would like to point out is that the scene where Jack was talking to himself also kind of points out one thing, that he has never taken a life of a human, apparently.
Yeah.
So,
because
he assumed that they were robots.
Because he's always been fighting robots in the original show, because it was a children's show, and you cannot kill actual humans. Oh boy, does that change here.
Not only does this make it a slight nod to the original show and to what the the original guidelines that they had to go with originally, but it also kind of makes it perfect for thematic growth of what Jack has to fight from now on.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys what is my absolute favorite scene in the show. I mean, in the episode, and I guess in the show as a whole, because we've only seen 2 episodes as of now. Yeah. It's actually not the deepest, most emotionally rewarding or psychologically twisted scene in the entire episode, but it's the one scene that had me geek out. Jack is still running away from the assassins, and he takes refuge into a subterranean graveyard. And as soon as I saw this scene unfolding before my eyes, and the camera pans out to reveal the entire graveyard, the assassins are there and start exploring the ruins to find Jack, and the music kicks in. The animators and the writers were doing a tribute to the famous graveyard scene from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly by Sergio Leone.
Oh.
Right. Oh.
Oh, yes. That outstanding orchestral theme you hear during that sequence, that is a rearrangement of a classic Ennio Morricone's piece of music. I would urge you guys to seek out the graveyard scene from that film on YouTube and see it for yourself once we're done podcasting. Because once you see that scene, and you remember this other scene in episode 2 of season 5 of Samurai Jack, you will go, "Oh, now I get it."
Yeah, I'll be sure to do it after this podcast.
Yeah, me too.
Because I really, really loved it. I could not believe I was seeing that scene, of all scene, being referenced in a 2017 cartoon. This is the greatest episode of anything. I love it so much. I'm just saying words now.
I mean, I'll say it right now. That scene is actually one of my favorites too, just for a different reason. Because the fact that, for the simplest terms, it's a very good tension scene, but yet with a beautiful backdrop of the graveyard and the fireflies flying around the room and under the roots of this huge tree-like thing that's above the entire throne room of the graveyard.
Oh yes, that too, obviously.
It is.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It not only is it nail-biting, but it also makes you feel speechless seeing such a beautifully animated background in such a situation. Makes it very difficult to take in the scene all at once while you're kind of just going like, "Where's Jack? Oh no, Jack's in there!"
Yes. Oh, you traitorous Firefly! You gave up my position!
Yeah.
Right after the Firefly dies, the scene explodes. And then we get to the moment that we were all waiting for, since Jack casually revealed he never killed a human. Jack kills a teenage girl.
Yeah.
It slices her neck right open.
Oh yes, that was brutal, let me tell you.
Yeah, that was really... Ugh.
Yeah, that would have been my favorite scene, because it's just sort of where you see Jack's expression, he just sort of like becomes resigned to his fate. As he just watches the girl die in front of him. He uses his new tuning knife to basically explode everything behind him and drops into the river, basically dying in there.
Essentially. I like the fact that he has realized what he has done. He had killed a human, something that he had never done. But he does not have the time to dwell on it because he still had to keep moving out of an instinctual desire to survive, much like the wolf in the parallel scene. By the way, the wolf dies.
Yes.
That needs to be pointed out. Just as Jack falls into the river, which becomes red with his blood, and everything explodes behind him. And I can only assume that after all this, speaking of resolve, the assassin's cult, or, the assassin the cultist assassins. The cult assassins, which, by the way, are all teenage girls, in case I didn't point that out earlier enough, they will find an even bigger resolve to go after Jack and kill him, which is great because their resolve has been implanted and twisted upon them by their quote-unquote mothers. It was never their own. And it will be interesting to see what kind of arc has been given to them, especially that one girl who clearly has been framed as the main girl. The one with the pointy haircut, which is a very appreciable homage to the lead female character from the fairly underrated and also cancelled Symbionic Titan.
I would really like to see what they do with her, because obviously they concentrated on her so much that she obviously is going to have her own arc.
Yeah, I think she's going to be the sole survivor and everyone else is killed by Jack as he slowly loses his humanity because he has started killing humans. He can no longer claim he had honor, so to speak. He can no longer grasp to that one sliver of hope that kept him going and is just going to fall further and further down the abyss. My gosh! Yeah, this show is going into directions I would have never dreamed it to go. I could not love it more for it.
I couldn't fathom such a direction.
Yeah, it'll probably go in that direction. Like, me and Nero were discussing where season 5 will probably be going, and with the Guardian and the Scotsman coming back, those are probably going to be the two characters that will probably help pull Jack right out of that darkness at the end. Because still at the end, he's still going to get back to the past. It has to happen. It's the one conclusion that all fans wanted at the end.
Yes, but it's going to be a conclusion that he has to earn all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Makes for good storytelling. It's a big comeback, not only for the show and for the fans of the show, but for the character himself the show is structured around. It took a long time to get the new season finally started, but it was completely worth the wait. This show would have not been as good as it is now if it had just continued back in the day. And it's good to see Gandhi Tartakovsky working on something. Finally! Thank you! Thank you so much!
It's a great return all around for everybody involved in that show.
Yeah, from some of the interviews I saw from Gandhi, he's going to be working on other Adult Swim shows after Samurai Jack.
Thank you, Adult Swim! You have redeemed yourself for, Mr. Pickles, or The Venture Bros, or, you know what, too many shows to name.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just put those away under the rug. They don't deserve to be talked about ever again.
So yes, what do you guys think? Conclusive thoughts?
If I'm going to start, I basically say, like, this is definitely the conclusion that everyone's been waiting for Samurai Jack. It's been done in the most perfect way that will satisfy most fans, I believe. And I can't wait to see the rest of Season 5, because it's complete narrative, which is the sort of TV show that I love to watch.
From me, I would say 2 thumbs up, big smile.
Thus, we come full circle.
Yeah, to elaborate on that feeling, I would say this is great. I actually love this more than the original show right now because Jack actually has a conflict to fight for and within himself. And
also is vulnerable. Very, very vulnerable.
For the first time in a long time. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to counter that point. There are actual episodes in the original series run that do venture into his vulnerable side.
I remember those episodes, but I also remember them to be played mostly as comedic. Like when he fights off that very dysfunctional divorced couple on the train. He's only able to get away from them because they're constantly bickering with each other. So... yes, you know.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to stick with my point just because I know... Well, because that's how I feel based on the moment I'm feeling, as well as... and I can't wait to watch more episodes of the show and see if other characters return, like the Scotsman. I would definitely love to see him again. Because I remember him being quite a badass in his own right.
Samurai Jack has never had a huge penchant for having recurring characters.
No, they never did, but...
the Scotsman is the one that's returned the most, as he's returned in 4 episodes in the original run.
I remember 2 of them. Well, the one in which he was introduced, and also the one in which they had to quote-unquote go save his wife, but turns out the wife didn't need saving.
Yeah.
They needed saving from the wife.
And there's a later 2-part episode where Jack loses all his memories and the Scotsman has to help him get it back.
I see.
It'll be funny if this whole series ends up with the allegory of Jack wanting to go back to the past. It's like, I have to recapture the past sort of deal.
Don't we like Aku too much to see him lose?
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Unless we're gonna go with, the final episode is actually going to be the kids telling the story of how Samurai Jack defeats Aku in the original run.
You know, that would be so cool, in a way. I'm pondering about something, because we established that Aku has been a shut-in for the past 50 years in the timeline of the show. What has happened to his cities and his nations without his constant overwatch?
I say chaos in some places, maybe.
Yes. You know what, you guys? I think I'm going to force in a new feature for this podcast for the foreseeable future. We're going to be recapping every new episode of Samurai Jack up until its conclusion.
Right. Okay.
WhyBoy, if you want to join us every week, I would absolutely love it. You have the freshest insight for the show overall, so your input will be valuable.
Of course.
Also, I think the podcast is funnier when we have a third person.
I definitely love talking about Jack anytime, and I definitely want to see more episodes.
Yes, watch out for new episodes. Watch out! So, recently, for no particular reason,
Yes?
I was invaded by a sudden wave of nostalgia.
Yeah?
So I dusted off my PlayStation 2, which I owned since 2004, and it's still functioning pretty well, I might add.
Lucky you.
I took my copy, my PlayStation 2 version of Resident Evil 4, and I've been playing Resident Evil 4 for the bajillionth time.
Oh gosh.
It is still a great game to this very day, unmatched by current incarnations of the franchise, or any other third-person shooter in that regard. It has aged very gracefully, still fun to play. I still love all of its quirks and its awful bad writing, which fits with the setting.
Which is intentional, because it's supposed to be a B horror movie-esque sort of...
You know, it's Capcom we're talking about. They are just not good at writing stories.
Well, no, but you see, Capcom intentionally made it a B horror movie style because they were inspired by that sort of campy acting.
Think about it. The narrative is you're saving the president's daughter.
Yes, it is. I love it.
In the first Resident Evil game, this is the very big clue to why they love the campy nature and terrible acting. I'm talking about the live action bits where basically they show off
I got a shotgun!
Like Albert Wesker and such.
Yes. Okay, so I'll give you that. Resident Evil 4 was the apex of the franchise as a whole. It managed to be action-packed, but also frightening and atmospheric when it wanted to be. The writing was the right amount of lazy, contrived, and forced to work for this particular setting. And I just love Leon's dorky, stupid, nonsensical one-liners. He's supposed to be this badass president's daughter saving hero who kills all the monsters, and he has been given the absolute lamest and worst one-liners I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, he's confronting Ramon Salazar, the small midget guy that owns the Spanish castle residence.
I nicknamed that guy Salad Bar to make a reference to an Animaniacs joke.
So Salad Bar says, "Welcome, my brethren. Soon you will be join us. You will become one of us." Leon's response is, "No thanks, bro."
You know, when I first played that game, I thought this is the most ludicrous and most idiotic way to pad out a video game I've ever seen, but I'm loving it.
Yes, it is.
Because Salad Bar comes out of nowhere as this guy who apparently is in league with the cult leader.
Lord Sadler.
Yeah, Lord
yes,
Sadler.
I am the fabulous Lord Sadler.
And
This
Salazar,
is not one of your Hollywood movies.
Salad Bar is like wearing this Victorian-esque jacket
Completely
with
out
a
of
hat.
place.
I mean, did he live that long, or did he just decide to wear just to look like an aristocrat douchebag?
Knowing the character, it's probably the latter. He said he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
He's been possessed by Las Plagas. Okay, here's something that I really truly dislike about this game. Bothers me so much.
What was it?
Okay, so they use Spanish names to call the monsters and also the cult itself. Makes sense since we are in Spain, supposedly. Or a very, very, very ignorant version of Spain, but nevertheless.
And fans describe it as a nondescript European country, but
Yeah.
They are Spanish! Of course it's Spain! For crying out loud!
They could have just borrowed the language for like a week.
Muere, 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 muere. Oh, forastero! Mátalo! I love the iconic shouting of the random possessed villagers as they see you coming.
El Gigantes!
Yes, Del Lago. Okay, so what bothers me is that they are using Spanish names to name these monsters and the cult itself, as I said before. They are already using the Spanish article, to name them. So we have Las Plagas, El Gigante, Del Lago, Los Illuminados, by the way, confirmed. Illuminados confirmed. But when you read in a text, in one of the many texts found in the game about Los Illuminados, etc., they always add the English article before the Spanish article, so it reads "de Los Illuminados," which not only is grammatically redundant, it is also grammatically incorrect. And it just pisses me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably just the minor irk on your part for grammar and
there are also
proper
plenty
use of the word.
I love the game and it's close to being perfect, but there are so many little moments that just irk me so much, gameplay wise. Specifically, Ashley is getting kidnapped for the 200 millionth time. Now she's over there and you're over here. You had to use your sniper rifle to kill all the monsters that are coming to get her, but they are also shooting at you, and this is distracting. And oh no, I actually shot her by error. Damn it, now I have to start all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
and
nothing
also,
yeah.
I really, really hate the quick time events. This game came out in 2005. It was the year in which the phenomenon of quick time events really exploded. And it was mostly thanks to this game and God of War. Yes, God of freaking War.
Yeah, so essentially both of those games are like the progenitor of this virus of the quick time events.
No, that would be Shenmue.
Yeah, sure, Shenmue, but that was like one game that basically inspires those two.
So yes, speaking of Las Plagas, they gave us the original Las Plagas of the quick time events.
It was thanks to those two games that actually made everyone else copy them.
But,
So-
by this time I've overplayed the game and I am familiar with most of its secrets. Or most of its tricks to make your life easier. Specifically, I've always proud myself of being able to defeat Ramon's Salad Bar, his boss battle, in less than 30 seconds.
Oh wow. Without the rocket launcher?
No, using the rocket launcher, obviously. But,
Oh.
obviously, at the very least, I did not buy it. I just got it from that one room in the castle, as well as the gun I used to shoot the monster's eye, revealing the gross literal underbelly in which Salad Bar is trapped in, which is the Magnum gun, and I got it without buying it from that one room that was closed off, and I had to use Ashley to get her on the other side of the window that was up above, piggyback her, as it were, so that she can open the door from inside. And then I get the gun, and I get the rocket launcher without spending unnecessary money. It's the little things, really.
Yeah.
But yes, Salad Bar is pathetically the easiest boss in the game because of that. Because you can just use that rocket launcher one time, done, less than 30 seconds, you get 50,000 pesetas to defeat this one. Wow. I almost feel bad for the programmers because they have built up the entire scenario with one-hit kill tentacles on the side and spider monsters on the ground, and yet you just stay there and you just rocket launcher the mofo and he's done.
WhyBoy, have you actually played this game?
I have played it. I played it on GameCube. I actually played it with one of my friends, and we just traded the controller back and forth and played through the whole game.
I own the GameCube version as well, actually.
Yeah, the GameCube version was good too.
With the cooler PlayStation 2 version that has the Ada scenario in it.
Yes, you are. Next to
in
Demonox.
your face.
Next to Demonox. He actually owned the PS2 version of the game too.
Resident Evil 4 was supposed to be the killer app for the GameCube, but then it just came out on PlayStation 2 with added content that was not included in the GameCube release. So that was the ultimate middle finger.
And then it came out, and then it came out on the Wii, and then it came out for the PC, and then it came out for the PS4. Yes, there is a
Steam version you can play.
That came out for the PS3, PS4.
Yes, well,
it is for any console now.
It is a really good and timeless game that it never gets old, which is the definition of timeless. It's fun, it's engaging. It takes a bit to get used to at first. I basically had to relearn how to play this game because it's been so long since last time. But once I get my groove on, oh boy, those villagers wouldn't know what hit them, let me tell you. Because it's me who hit them with my sniper rifle just before they see me. Or maybe I'm a sadistic bastard and I use my mine launcher, which I'm fairly sure it's a weapon that doesn't exist. But I have it, so I'm using it.
Yes, shooting infected villagers is like riding a bicycle. You never forget how to do it in the first place.
And of course, how could we ever forget that this game gave us the merchant?
I wish he was playable. In all the iterations, I wish he was playable in some way, because he's got all those guns.
Yeah, it's so weird that
Welcome,
put into a fighting game or something.
I actually got
I'll buy it at a high price.
I think I remember sending a tweet to Capcom Unity about that one time, saying, it's pity that the merchant wasn't playable. And they said, who says he knew how to use the guns?
This has always baffled me, that this guy just waltzes into essentially a war zone, nobody pays him any mind, he just stands there, waiting for you to buy stuff from him, he's not bothered by any of the infected ones, he's just there.
He's such a mysterious being that I wish to know more about, other than what I already know from just looking at him, because from looking at him, he's got the same eyes as the villagers, but yet he seems to have sentience.
Actually, Las Plagas work in a mysterious way, because depending on the individual, they might affect the host, but they don't completely kill their intelligence or sentience. They coexist with it, because that's what parasites do, in a nutshell. This also eventually caused them to go mental. Because by reading all the texts in the game, it is very much implied or outright said that Lord Sadler knew what he was doing when he asked Salad Bar to excavate the Plagas from under his castle. So there is a story within a story here, which is not any good, but who cares? You're not playing this game for the story.
Well, no, that's never been a strong suit for Resident Evil. It's more for
Yes, I wish it's just maddening that when they made Resident Evil 5, they just resorted to make a stripped-down, bare-naked, poor version of what Resident Evil 4 was. It was shorter, it was lamer, it was badly programmed, and it did not even have the merchant, and you could not pause the game when you opened the inventory, which made things unnecessarily more complicated than they needed to. There was no atmosphere, just pure Hollywood blockbuster action. That just kills what was the charm of Resident Evil 4.
For me, the only good thing about Resident Evil 5 was just being able to play 2-player with my best friend Demonox, but also Albert Wesker.
Yeah.
Albert Wesker is the only saving grace just because of the ridiculous voice lines that DC Douglas had to work with to make it sound so smooth, so vindictive and evil.
Okay, two things. One is dressed like Neo from The Matrix. So that's an automatic thumbs down for me. And two, I think he tries too hard. Lord Sadler was the perfect combination of campy and threatening. Wesker was just too much in a game that was just too little and too much at the same time.
Again, I'm just saying he was the only saving grace just because of that reason. Then again, I just love the acting from Wesker in general.
Yeah.
Okay, and my favorite moments from Resident Evil 4, other than, the game itself, playing the game as it were, are just those little absurd moments in which Leon is yelling somebody's name. Just yelling somebody's name. Ashley! Sadler! Lewis! Ada!
Yeah.
It is so funny.
Krauser!
For some reason. Just the main good guy just yelling somebody's name. With that emphasis, weird emphasis that he puts into the yelling of the name. And it's just so charming in a stupid way.
It's equal to the Heavy Rain's glitch of making the main character shout, Sean!
Jason! 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 Now that's just annoying. That is just annoying beyond belief.
Yeah.
WhyBoy, happy Resident Evil 4 memories you want to share with us?
Nothing any too specific. I just enjoyed in high school playing it with my friend. We just always hang out every week and we just played through the game PlayStation at a time until we beat it. There was only one point that really pissed me off about it. It was this stupid boss fight that felt a little bit glitched to me during our playthrough. It's these two big guys. We're supposed to hit them into the lava or something. Yeah, just each time we always wanted to get the other guy in because we were sick of hearing his voice. But then his brother always bumped in the way, got killed, and then we got stuck with the same guy every single time. It was the most irritating boss fight. Yeah, it was something like that, yeah.
Okay, so I've noticed that too. You can only kill one of them like that, because after that the mechanism just jams for some reason.
Yeah, I just find that so
it's technically not a boss fight, because Gigantes have been established as meat bosses, essentially. Yeah. Honestly, the most annoying enemies in the game for me were those ironclad blind men with the giant Wolverine claws that only had one weak point in their back, and you had to play cat and mouse with them in order to properly get them to die, and it can take anywhere around 2 minutes or 10 minutes to do that.
Yeah.
It's especially terrible when there are two of them to deal with.
The only enemy I remember having any form of, oh god, sort of moment with was the Regenerators.
Okay, Los Regeneradores are possibly the scariest enemies in the game, legitimately.
Yeah, because you enter a room and the first thing you hear is a... Yeah, it's like that, and then suddenly I'm playing the game. Demonox is sat next to me, watching me play the game, and then we hear that sound, and I stop dead in my tracks as Leon, and I'm like, no.
Yes, those were terrible.
I will share one memory that Demonox had of the PlayStation 2 port of the game that he decided that when he was playing it, actually, because it's so funny, but sadly, it made him fear this one small thing in video games from now on, from that point on, because you remember that scene where there's a lake and Leon sees these two villagers chuck someone's body into the lake?
Yes.
Yeah, so Demonox decided to go over to that lake and he decides to shoot at the water for a bit. And without warning, the creature from the lake jumps out and eats him.
Oh my gosh, I never knew about this Easter egg. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's there. You should try it yourself.
It's too late. I'm actually past the second act of the game, which was the castle. I'm on to the island part of the game. So,
but it is there, and you could probably see it on YouTube, that Easter egg as well. But it's kind of funny because Demonox from that point on, in every video game he's ever played afterwards, he's afraid of the water.
As well he should.
Especially in Resident Evil 5 when we were multiplayer on that, and there were only crocodiles who were not that scary to me, but it's like, to him it was like, I don't want to go in there. And there's me as Sheva going like, you will get in there or else I'll shoot you. Memories.
Resident Evil 4, solid, fine game to play to this very day. They don't make games so everlasting anymore. It seems to me that any major AAA release in the current climate of the video game industry is doomed to age faster than a game from 10 years ago would.
Which is weird, really, because The Last of Us is considered, well, by many, to be a modern marvel on par with Resident Evil 4, despite the fact the only thing I can really remember everyone saying is the story's great, and that's all I hear.
Sure, the story might be great for a Walking Dead clone.
But I'm just saying though.
But I'm strictly talking about the gameplay experience here. What a game can offer to you in terms of gameplay, and in that regard, Resident Evil 4 might have one of the most everlasting gameplay systems to date. I have nothing but disdain for the two fights with Krauser.
Oh, me too. Me too. I was going to say that. Out of all Resident Evil 4, Krauser is probably the least interesting encounter I've ever had in that game.
It is also the most broken encounter, if you ask me.
It also feels kind of tacked on, just like Salad Bar.
Well, Salad Bar has an entire section of the game, the longest section of the game, dedicated to him. And I can understand his role in the story because it is explained. Who the hell is Krauser? What is he doing there? Why does Leon know him?
That wasn't explained until like a later Resident Evil title. It wasn't even the main one. It was like a side one.
Yeah, it was Umbrella Chronicles, the one I played. Now that sours me a bit.
Yeah. So, then again, it's Krauser, so Krauser sours everything.
Yeah, damn you, Krauser, you ruined everything. Anyway, I want to talk about Ashley because, 40% of the game is basically a escort mission.
No problem with her whatsoever. I just kind of was neutral with her all the way through myself, so I didn't have anything bad or anything good to say about her.
Okay, escort missions in video games are typically a pain, and they should never be a thing. But if you're going to have one, you better make sure it is well made, and Resident Evil 4 has a well-made escort mission in it. Aside from those times in which she gets literally lifted up by some random vagrant, and you had to shoot that vagrant down while being sure not to kill her by accident, which from a certain distance can be not easy. But for the most
yeah.
part, her behavior just doesn't really come in the way of your enjoyment of the game. Or, it doesn't come in the way of you literally shooting something. Because when she is behind you, she will literally just stay behind you as you rotate while aiming your gun. So she will be sure to stay behind you at all times. That's very helpful. When she is right in front of you and you point the gun, she ducks.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm okay with Ashley. I like her. How much better was Resident Evil 4 compared to early incarnations of the franchise with the stupid damn tank controls? Now, those have not aged well in the slightest.
No, they have not.
I collected all the old Resident Evils and I tried to play them, but I had no idea what I was doing. And I just shut them off after 20 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, so really, Resident Evil 4 is, despite everyone making a big hoo-ha and boo-hoo about it, it's actually was probably the best evolution that the series could have taken at the time.
Yes, it was so good, not even Capcom could follow it up.
I mean, this undertaking of Resident Evil 4 actually brought about Devil May Cry, as well as another game on the GameCube called Haunting Grounds, I believe.
Devil May Cry actually existed before Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4, while in development, was... let me put it this way. They were working on Resident Evil 4 first, but then they decided to go another direction, but they took the assets that they worked on for that prototype of Resident Evil 4 and turned it to Devil May Cry.
Oh, well, that is an interesting tidbit of news.
Yeah, they did that a couple of times, hence why I said they also did another game called Haunting Grounds, I believe it was called.
I do have that game actually in my collection too.
Oh my gosh, you do?
Yeah, I don't know why I picked it up. I just wanted to try to get some like horror games to like when I was trying to do Let's Plays, but I only played it for like 20 minutes and I shut it off. Because I get scared super easily.
So, well, I think we have enough material to cover one podcast. This week I plan to watch the Chinese animated film Rock Dog. Now, my previous experience with Chinese animated films or Chinese cinema in general has been almost completely disastrous in any conceivable angle. Mainstream Chinese cinema tends to be a bootlegged version of Hollywood, except with all of its flaws made even worse.
Yeah.
And animated films made in China tend to be the most insulting kiddie stuff you could ever imagine. I'm looking forward to see this one. So, if it's bad, I will have definitely something to say about it in the next podcast.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah, you enjoy that.
Yes, well, I'll let you know if I enjoyed that in any capacity whatsoever.
Yeah, because I'm actually I was actually looking forward to it too. It's like one of my top 5 anticipated movies of the year. Because I'm always out for those sort of like innocent movies that just sort of make you feel good. I like those sort of things. If it's too stupid, then it's annoying.
Speaking of which, The Great Wall is the most boring film I've seen all year long. Don't even bother. And with that said, see you next time, folks. This has been Madhog Master.
I've been Devar Akbaron.
And I've been WhyBoy.
Next week, even more Samurai Jack, so watch out for that podcast.
Yeah, let's see you back here, babies. Yeah.
Yes, go watch Season 5, is great. And while at it, go have a blast playing Resident Evil 4. It's available on Steam, so you don't have to buy a PlayStation 2 and a PlayStation 2 port of the game, even though it is the best port. Yeah, you know what? GameCube nostalgic fans, suck my butt.
Even though it's equally great, except for the fact that it has less content. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Ta-ta.
Watch out for that Goocy character. He seems suspicious.
Gosh.